Boeing just did something nobody thought they had the nerve to do. After years of delays, scrutiny, and projects collapsing behind closed doors, the company has quietly pulled a forgotten giant back into the spotlight, an aircraft so massive and so controversial that even people inside the industry are stunned it's being discussed again. And the craziest part? This entire revival wasn't sparked by Boeing at all. It was triggered by one airline with enough power to reshape the future of long-haul aviation overnight. Because while everyone was watching the usual order announcements at the Dubai Air Show, a move slipped under the radar. One that signaled Boeing might finally be ready to build something the world was certain was dead. A stretch so extreme, it borders on unbelievable. A twin-engine giant so huge, it would tower over every passenger aircraft flying today. And thanks to Emirates, the project is suddenly alive again and closer to reality than ever before. But what exactly is this mysterious aircraft Boeing has been quietly revisiting behind the scenes? And why is Emirates so desperate to bring it to life when no other airline seems willing to take the risk? Let's dig into the story Boeing hoped would stay buried, and the one airline bold enough to resurrect it. For years, the aviation world assumed Boeing had moved on from anything super jumbo-sized. The company was buried in certification issues, battling delays on nearly every major program, and dealing with scrutiny that made any new project seem impossible. So when whispers began circulating that Boeing engineers were quietly revisiting an old, oversized concept deep inside the company, most people brushed it off as speculation. But those rumors didn't fade. In fact, they grew louder. Industry insiders began hinting that Boeing had been running internal studies again, dusting off design work that had been abandoned for almost a decade. And then, at the Dubai Air Show, the truth finally surfaced. Emirates, the airline with the biggest appetite for high-capacity aircraft on Earth, had stepped in. Their involvement wasn't casual. It was a calculated nudge strong enough to push Boeing back toward an aircraft the company never officially confirmed and never fully killed. The moment Emirates signed their massive new deal, Boeing quietly revealed that the once dormant project was officially back under evaluation. A study was underway, meetings were happening, teams were being reassigned, and just like that, a concept the world thought was gone suddenly had real momentum again. But the real surprise wasn't that Boeing revived an old design. It was why the project disappeared in the first place. And that part of the story is far stranger than anyone expected. Long before anyone outside Boeing had heard the name, the concept now being called the Boeing 710 existed only as an internal stretch idea, an experimental extension of the already massive 777-9. On paper, it looked outrageous. Engineers explored what would happen if they pushed the fuselage an extra 16 feet, turning a huge aircraft into something almost absurdly long, stretching out to around 268 feet. That's longer than a football field, longer than the A380's entire wingspan, and longer than any twin-engine passenger jet ever proposed. With that kind of length, the aircraft wouldn't just carry more people. It would rewrite the upper limit of what a twin-engine jet could realistically do. Early estimates showed seating for around 470 passengers, possibly more depending on how aggressively an airline configured it. In a world where airlines desperately want lower fuel burn, but still need high capacity, this idea wasn't just big, it was tempting. But here's the twist. This wasn't a fresh idea Boeing cooked up last month. Back in the 2010s, reports suggest Boeing quietly tested the feasibility of stretching the 777X family even further. Engineers confirmed it could be built. They said the structure could handle it, the landing gear systems could support it, and the electronic tail strike protection could control it. From a raw engineering standpoint, it wasn't impossible. Yet after that early review, the entire concept was quietly shelved. No announcement, no cancellation, just silence. The world never heard about it again. So if Boeing knew they could build this monster, why let the idea disappear for nearly a decade? The answer lies in the chaos the company was about to walk into. Chaos that forced them to bury anything that wasn't absolutely urgent, and pushed the 710 concept so deep into storage that most people never knew it existed in the first place. And that's the part of the story almost nobody saw coming. By the mid-2000s, Boeing wasn't in a position to gamble on anything ambitious, let alone a stretched mega aircraft that would push the limits of what regulators were comfortable approving. The company was already neck-deep in the enormous task of certifying the 777-9, fine-tuning the smaller 777-8, and launching a brand new freighter variant. On paper, all three were supposed to be straightforward evolutions of the 777 platform. In reality, every one of them spiraled into delays, redesigns, and regulatory bottlenecks. Certification targets slipped once, then twice, then again. What was meant to enter service around 2020 kept getting pushed back until Boeing was nearly 6 years behind schedule. Engineers were stretched thin, timelines were collapsing, and the company was facing mounting pressure from regulators who were no longer willing to accept Boeing's old shortcuts. Internally, people whispered that Boeing didn't just have their hands full, they were overwhelmed. The last thing the company needed was another major design program fighting for resources. So even though the stretched concept was technically feasible, there was no bandwidth to build it, certify it, or even talk about it publicly. It wasn't worth the risk. Not at that moment. And once the 737 MAX crisis erupted, the company's priorities imploded completely. Billions in losses, a global grounding, and a complete overhaul of Boeing's relationship with the FAA meant every non-essential project was instantly frozen. The 710 idea went from interesting option to absolutely not. For years, it sat untouched. No leaks, no updates, no hint that Boeing would ever revisit it. Then, just as the dust began settling and the 777X program crawled forward, one airline walked in with enough leverage to resurrect the whole thing. And they didn't just show interest, they made it almost impossible for Boeing to ignore them. Because Emirates wasn't asking for the aircraft, they were demanding it. If there's one airline on Earth with the influence to pull a dormant Boeing project back from the dead, it's Emirates. Their entire business model depends on moving massive numbers of passengers through Dubai, and no other carrier comes close to operating as many giant aircraft. They didn't just adopt the Airbus A380, they built an empire around it. And now, that empire is running out of time. Every A380 in Emirates' fleet will age out in the coming decades. And with Airbus refusing to build a next-generation version, the airline is staring at a looming capacity crisis. Without a true successor, their entire global hub strategy starts to fall apart. For years, they've begged Airbus to consider an A380 NEO. They pushed for stretched A350 versions. They explored every option. Nothing stuck. So when Boeing arrived at the Dubai Air Show with the usual pitch for more 777-9s, Emirates did something that caught everyone off guard. They didn't just place a massive order, 65 additional aircraft worth around $38 billion. They slipped in a detail that changed everything. Emirates agreed to back Boeing's feasibility study for the stretched variant. Quietly, strategically, they secured options that could be converted into the 710 if Boeing greenlights it. This wasn't casual interest. Emirates made their intentions impossible to misinterpret. Their chairman, Sheikh Ahmed bin Saeed Al Maktoum, publicly stated they were very keen to buy the aircraft if Boeing develops it. In aviation diplomacy, that's the equivalent of planting a flag in the manufacturer's headquarters and saying, "Build this, we will pay for it." Industry chatter suggests Emirates has been pushing privately for years. Some insiders claim the airline wants an A380-sized aircraft without the punishing cost of 4 engines. Others say Emirates views the 710 as their only path to maintain dominance at slot-restricted airports in Europe and Asia. Either way, Boeing suddenly finds itself backed into a corner, in a good way and a terrifying way. Because while Emirates can demand this aircraft, Boeing is the one that has to build it, and making this thing actually work is an entirely different challenge. Because pushing a twin-engine giant to this extreme doesn't just raise questions, it raises alarms. Stretching an already massive aircraft sounds simple on paper. Add length, add seats, add revenue. But in the real world, every extra foot introduces problems that multiply fast. And for a jet this huge, the biggest threat isn't passenger comfort, fuel burn, or even tail strikes. Boeing can handle those. They've already built electronic tail skid systems that prevent over-rotation, and structurally, the 777X platform can support a longer frame. The real monster hiding in the engineering paperwork is something far more unforgiving: takeoff performance with one engine knocked out. When a twin-engine jet loses an engine at the worst possible moment, mid-takeoff, the aircraft must still climb, stay stable, and avoid drifting off the runway. That requirement gets exponentially harder the bigger and heavier the aircraft becomes. And for a twin-engine jet approaching super jumbo scale, the margin for error shrinks to almost nothing. Certification rules demand brutal testing. Regulators will ask, can the stretched jet maintain directional control? Can it hit the required climb gradient? Can it lift off within the allowable runway distance with only one engine pushing? If the answer is no to any of these, the project stalls instantly. Then there are the weight penalties. Adding 16 feet isn't just extra metal. It reshapes the aircraft's balance, affects wing loading, changes stress distributions, and forces engineers to reinforce key sections. More reinforcement means more weight. More weight means less range. Less range means fewer airlines see value in the aircraft. It becomes a chain reaction, each compromise triggering another. Boeing also has to consider market risk. There are only about 1,000 jets in the 350-plus seat replacement category worldwide. It's not a massive market. Darren Hulst, Boeing's VP of Commercial Marketing, has already hinted that the company must weigh risk versus versatility. Build too large, and airlines who don't need the extra seats simply walk away. All these challenges land on Boeing's desk at the worst possible time, just as the company tries to claw back credibility after years of setbacks. And while Boeing is wrestling with the physics of building something this extreme, their biggest rival isn't staying quiet. Because while all eyes were glued to Boeing's secret giant, Airbus used the very same air show to deliver a blow that sent shockwaves through the industry and hit Boeing where it hurts most. While Boeing was busy hinting at a resurrected giant, Airbus walked into the Dubai Air Show and flipped the script entirely. Instead of playing defense, they unleashed a wave of orders so big and so strategically timed that it felt like a direct response to Boeing's renewed momentum. And the airlines signing those deals weren't random regional players. They were some of Boeing's most important partners. Etihad kicked things off with a major wide-body commitment: 6 A330-900 Neos, 7 more A350-1000S, and 3 A350 freighters. That alone would have made headlines. But Airbus wasn't done. Moments later, Fly Dubai, the airline known for its absolute loyalty to Boeing since day one, stunned the industry. After more than 15 years of operating an all-Boeing narrow-body fleet, Fly Dubai signed an agreement for 150 Airbus A321 Neos. To put it lightly, That's not just a fleet update, it's a shift in identity. When an airline that has stood by Boeing through every crisis suddenly crosses the aisle, people notice. Analysts called it symbolic. Others called it a warning. Either way, Airbus walked away with a deal that shook Boeing's grip on the Middle Eastern narrow-body market. But Airbus wasn't finished. Air Europa stepped in with a headline-grabbing move of its own, an MOU for up to 40 A350-900s. That order positions Airbus to dominate the carrier's long-haul future, replacing older wide-bodies and strengthening their reach across the Atlantic and into Latin America. Taken together, these deals weren't just wins, they were a coordinated demonstration of power. While Boeing celebrated Emirates' massive 777X order, Airbus secured victories that reinforced their dominance in both narrow-body and long-haul segments. And in the middle of all this, the public couldn't help noticing a deeper pattern. Airbus wasn't just keeping up with Boeing, they were outmaneuvering them. Yet this moment, this chaotic tug of war, didn't appear out of nowhere. It's the latest chapter in a rivalry that's been building pressure for decades. And to understand why Boeing is fighting so hard to bring back a giant, you have to understand the war that's defined modern aviation. A war Airbus has been quietly winning. For most of the 20th century, Boeing was aviation's undisputed heavyweight. They built the jets that defined commercial flight. The 707, the 747, the 777. Their engineering culture was legendary. Their dominance felt untouchable. And then Airbus did something no one expected. They stopped trying to beat Boeing at Boeing's own game, and instead changed the rules of the game entirely. In the early 2000s, while Boeing focused on big, long-range aircraft built for hub-to-hub travel, Airbus spotted a rising trend. Passengers didn't want long layovers, and airlines didn't want to funnel everyone through mega hubs forever. So Airbus took a gamble, a massive one. They bet the future on smaller, ultra-efficient, long-range jets, the kind that could skip the hub completely and fly straight from mid-sized city to mid-sized city. That bet became the A330, then the A350, and eventually the game-changing A321XLR. And as this shift played out, the entire industry started tilting. Boeing stuck with the 747 long after airlines began moving on. They doubled down on the 777, the world's most successful twin-engine wide-body, which was brilliant, but it wasn't the kind of plane that could open up dozens of new point-to-point routes. They built the 787, yes, but development delays and battery issues slowed momentum. Meanwhile, Airbus refined, iterated, and captured the edges of the market. Boeing wasn't watching. The result? By the 2010s, Airbus wasn't just competing. They were leading in the fastest-growing segments of commercial aviation. Today, the A321neo family dominates narrow-body sales. The A350 has become the long-haul darling of airlines worldwide. And Airbus's willingness to innovate across multiple categories has given them an advantage that Boeing can't ignore. Because here's the truth, no one likes to say out loud. Boeing didn't lose ground because Airbus out-engineered them. They lost ground because Airbus out-patterned them, spotting shifts in the industry years before they became obvious. And that pressure, that widening gap, is exactly why Boeing is flirting with the idea of resurrecting a giant. Not for nostalgia, for survival. But the question is, if Boeing really does bring back a new wide-body titan, will it even matter? And that's why this rivalry is entering its most unstable moment yet. Boeing can't afford another delay or misstep. Airbus can't afford to let Boeing regain momentum. The airlines are watching, the manufacturers are maneuvering, and the entire industry is quietly bracing for the next big announcement. Because someone, Airbus or Boeing, is about to reveal their next aircraft. And whichever company moves first, might control the next 30 years of aviation. In the end, Boeing's mysterious revival and Airbus's quiet counter-strategy aren't just corporate moves. They're signals that the aviation world is heading into another power shift. Boeing is trying to reclaim what it lost, reaching back into its archives to resurrect an idea the industry thought was gone forever. Airbus, meanwhile, is playing a slower, more calculated game. One that doesn't rely on flashy reveals or massive new airframes, but on strategic upgrades and future-focused technology that could redefine flight itself. What makes this moment so intense is that neither company can afford to get it wrong. Boeing is betting on redemption. Airbus is betting on evolution. And the airlines caught in the middle are pushing both sides harder than ever before. But here's the part no one expected. This battle isn't just about which company builds the biggest plane. It's about which one builds the right plane for the next era. And as rumors keep spreading, studies continue behind closed doors, and insiders hint that announcements are coming sooner than anyone thinks. One thing is becoming impossible to ignore. The future of long-haul travel is about to change again, quietly, suddenly, and in a way that will catch the entire world off guard. And when the truth finally comes out, it'll rewrite the aviation story all over again. And that wraps up today's deep dive into one of the biggest aviation twists we've seen in years. Whether Boeing goes all in on the 710 or Airbus fires back with something of its own, one thing's certain. This new chapter in the aerospace rivalry is only just beginning. If you want to stay ahead of the curve and catch every update the moment it breaks, make sure you subscribe to Aviation Insights. We cover the stories the industry whispers about, the hidden projects, the power plays, and the aircraft shaping the future of flight. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join a community that loves aviation as much as you do. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.